Pop quiz. If I was to show you a picture that looked like this, could you tell me what the speed limit is? Well, if you're British, you should know by just looking at it. And if you're American, you're wondering, how? We'll get to that in this video. Me and my wife are missionaries in the UK, and I've always wanted to use this channel to talk about some of the quirky and interesting aspects of what it's like to be an American living in the motherland. Today I'm going to do just that. I'm going to give you 5 tips for anybody who is coming to the UK, whether you're visiting, staying, or moving. These should be helpful, and you should know these before you get here. So let's begin. First, so before you come to the UK, make sure you have a credit card or a bank card that can do international payments. Everybody takes cards nowadays. Like literally in the UK, unless you're going to very specific shops, they will take your card. So don't worry about bringing cash with you. Because here's what happens. You bring cash with you, and then you have to get it exchanged at one of those little stores or at the airport. And those places are designed to make money. They're going to give you a very bad rate. They're going to rip you off, essentially. And talking about using your card, that leads me to my second tip of this video, which is set up contactless payments. Contactless is your Apple Pay, that's your Google Pay, that's your whatever pay. Everybody here uses contactless. And this is something that kind of weirds me out, that the US is behind the UK. Americans, we like to do things efficiently and quickly. We want to do it the easiest way possible. In other words, we're all lazy. And don't get mad at me, I'm an American too. It is so hard and annoying to have to pull out your wallet, and then you have to pull out your credit card, and then you have to stick your card in the machine, and then you either have to type your PIN in, or if you have an American card and you're over in the UK, they have a little receipt prints out and you have to sign the receipt, and it's just such a hassle that instead of just taking your phone, which you probably already have out anyways because we live in the 21st century, you can just tap it onto the machine, bam, you're done. Let's real quick talk about those receipts that you have to sign, because if you use your American card, it's going to require you to sign the receipt. Now that's not actually uncommon in the US, but since we have moved here, neither Rachel or I have seen a single British person sign a receipt. Like, it's true. Like, it just doesn't happen. So when you show up with your card and you stick it in and they have a receipt that you have to sign, they just don't know what to do with you. Like, half the time they don't even have a pen, so now they're yelling at their coworkers, hey, do you have a pen? And then like everybody starts to stare at you wondering who's the weird guy that has to sign a receipt. Or they turn into fraud investigators. Like, seriously, I was at the grocery store. She gave me the receipt to sign and gave me a pen, and then she took my card, and I was like, whatever. So I signed it, and then I was thinking, oh, she took my card, so she's gonna check the signature. But this lady went like above and beyond her job. Like, she took the receipt back that I just signed, and she like studied it for a good like 30 seconds, making sure that it's correct. And then, not only does she study it, she then asks me for another form of identification that has a signature on it, so that she can check that form of identification and that signature against the signature on the back of my card and the signature I used on the receipt. That lady was more diligent than any Border Patrol agent I've ever had to deal with. The moral of the story is, just set up contactless payments. It's so much easier. In fact, if you're in London, and actually not just London, but a lot of towns and cities here in the UK, and you want to use their public transportation, you don't have to get a special card anymore. You just use contactless. You literally just tap your phone and you get on the train or you get on the bus. Which leads me to my third tip, which is use public transportation. Like, seriously guys, it is so much better over here than it is in the States. And also, pretty much every map app that you have on your phone now does public transportation. So if you pull up Google Maps and you put in where you are and where you want to go, and you tap the little public transportation symbol, it'll tell you what bus to get on, when the bus is going to arrive, where the stations are, how many stops between where you get on and the stop that you need to get off is. Like, it's super easy now to just use public transportation to just get anywhere you want in the country. But if you are a person who's coming over here and maybe you're staying for a longer period of time, or maybe you're moving here and you're buying a car and you need to drive while you're in this country, well, first off, good news, your American driver's license is good for up to 12 months from the day you arrive. And secondly, and tip number 4, learn the speed limit system here. Like, let's go back to this picture I showed you earlier. If you are wondering how a British person knows what the speed limit is, which, by the way, it's 30 miles per hour, it's all because of the street lamps. You see, this is one of the biggest differences between the UK and the US, and that is how we communicate. In the US, we are what's called a low context communication culture, and all that is a fancy way of saying that we just like to say how it is. Like, we want explicit instructions on what to do, you know, where to go, etc. That's why when you're driving in the States, you'll see speed limit signs all over the place. Like, you'll be reminded often that this is the speed limit of the road you're on. Whereas in the UK, they're a little bit more of a high context type communication culture, which means that you aren't always told just explicitly what it is. You have to read between the lines a little bit. You have to kind of figure out by the context of the situation what is being communicated to you. And that works the same way on their road system. So when you're driving down a street and there's no signs posted but there's street lamps, you should just know from the context, oh, it's 30 miles per hour. If you're driving down a street, there's no street lamps, you should know, oh, it's 60 miles an hour. And then if you're driving on to what they call a dual carriageway or a motorway, which is what they call their freeway, that's 70 miles per hour. And you just know because of the context of where you're driving. And one of the reasons why I really want to emphasize these are the speed limits and why you need to learn them is that the UK loves these things called speed cameras. So you might be driving down the road and have a similar experience to us where you're just driving a little bit above the speed limit because, to be honest, you just didn't know what the speed limit was. And you get this nice letter in the mail a week later that says, hey, guess what? You went over the speed limit. You owe us money. And they'll even have a nice picture of your car in there for you to prove that they know that you went over the speed limit. And then not only do you get to pay them, but then you get to spend a nice day in their version of traffic school learning all the secret codes on how to tell what the speed limit is on what street. But even if you can drive and even if you're taking public transportation, there's one other tip that needs to go along with all of this, and that is bring a good pair of walking shoes, because in the UK, they love to walk. I have heard British people talk about driving like 30 minutes, how that is like a long drive, but then walk like 50 minutes to go to a store they want to go to. So when you come visit, just get ready, especially if you're visiting friends who live in the UK, to go on walks. And when I say walk, it's not just like a stroll around the block. Like, you're gonna go out for a good hour at least. So those are your 5 tips. Come with a card that's ready to be used internationally. Put that card on your phone and use contactless. Use the public transportation. Learn the speed limits. And bring some good walking shoes. And hopefully if you are now planning a visit to come to the UK, those 5 tips will get you better prepared for coming. Because as we quickly learned, we wish we knew all 5 of those before we got here. If you have any tips, maybe you live in the UK, maybe you are British and you want to share some amazing insight with your American friends, go ahead and leave a comment down below on any tips you would have. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know. I'm hoping to do this maybe once a month-ish about just talking about the UK and the US and being a missionary here. So if you have any questions that specifically go towards that topic, leave a comment. Like always, please remember to subscribe and like this video. In fact, as I'm recording this, I have 99 subscribers right now, and I really want to get to 100. So if you could be that 100th subscriber, I would be eternally grateful. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.